Hey, everyone, we'll give a few minutes for people to join. You'll have to forgive my voice. I'm still recovering. I've been out with the flu all basically for a week. I actually didn't save the notes I took last time, but I went and got a screenshot from the video and pasted that in because I didn't realize I hadn't saved the notes until late last night. So think about if you want additional agenda items. We're going to talk about IPDK and OPI with Dash next time. So for this meeting, the only thing I had is from leftover from the notes from last time was the finish the lab operations working group discussion and whether we create a separate formal lab working group. And Venkat, we definitely wanted your input in that.
Yeah, this is Paul. I still need to know who's going to be speaking at SmartNIC Summit and all of that good stuff, and have people start working on their content.
All right. Any other, while we're waiting for the final batch of people to arrive, any other agenda items?
So Joseph, can I get like 5-10 minutes on the OPI by numbers? I'll just walk through some statistics.
Hello, good morning, Dan.
Hey, Dan. And we'll give it till 5 after. And Tim, I saw that you reached out to Dash, so maybe like we had discussed.
Yeah, that sort of happened organically, Joe, where Venkat had Kathleen ready to come in and talk to us. So that just sort of happened on its own without me actually doing anything.
Okay. And then Paul, had you actually had a formal email or something to them, or?
Yeah, I did. I sent a formal email that we're discussing it. We're trying to figure out who from the board would be their liaison and who from this group would be their liaison. So who from a technical side of the thing would be their liaison. And then we talked about SmartNIC Summit and needing to get together for drinks and all that good stuff and make sure we're there, and we planned that. So
Okay.
So that was the back and forth on that discussion.
All right. All right. So we can ask for volunteers then as well for that.
Yes.
All right, it's 5 after, so let's get started formally. Any other agenda items? All right, Sridhar, let's start with you. You can share.
Sure. Thank you.
Oh, 4th of May. Okay, good point.
Okay, you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, 1 second. Okay. Yeah, so I'll walk through this quickly. OPI numbers, some of the from statistics from LFX Insights. And I apologize. For last week, every day I'm arguing with the team, backend team. They're still. It's quite embarrassing. They're still unable to fix an issue. You will see that issue now. I've told them to fix it by next board meeting. I hope they will do. Let's see. Okay, I'll start with the quick trends. The total number of contributors that we are having. If you see, we are somewhere around 149 as of now. The active total contributors in OPI project, and the number of commits that have happened is around 3.5K. Since we have started working on this. These are just quick trends, kind of. And the core contribution is mostly from the affiliated, and there are some percentage from the non-affiliated members. And we are almost like 1.28 million lines of code that has been added to the project, mostly from July 2022, right? You please let me know if you need any more numbers on this thing. I'm just taken what are the important ones. So how many repositories that have been active each and every month, right? So in April, we have been quite busy. Almost all the repos, we have around 20, totally not around like 20 repos, right? 18 repos have been from March and April have been active over last 2 months. So these are in every month, how many repos have been kind of active. And what are the number of PRs and change sets and the issues that have been open. So if you see today, we have only like 5 issues are open in April. Okay. Okay, and this is you see a red flag here. There is some issue in the backend in the statistics collection thing. I want them to fix this problem. If you see, there is unknown programming language. So they're reading it from the GitHub or thing and trying to make out what are the languages that are there. These are the total languages that have been used, from across all the repositories in OPI project. So we have to see this statistics is yet to be fixed. Okay, and this is the major thing. We have been fighting with over last 3 months, literally. They have merged. They say we have merged. I think I'm really sorry, Joseph, and Dell members here. They have 3 different names. We have requested them to merge into a single one as Dell Technologies, but still they haven't done it. So this is kind of a embarrassing situation that I'm requesting that. They said, hey, we have fixed the issue. We have merged it. There is some backend issue in some data lakes combining. So we will do it, and we are still they're not doing it yet. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, while all of our companies act like multiple companies, very often, yeah, it probably should just be fixed. But
yeah,
interesting. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So these are the active contributions and top 10 organizations according to the contributions that we have here, and active contributors. This is the Boris is still leading. This is based on the number of commits authored, right? We can of course change it to different statistics, but by default we pick by the number of commits authored. And here other issues which members have to fix is in their profile. They haven't added their organized affiliation. So I request Patrick and Alberto if they can. I tried to reach them and got any response. If we can add their affiliation, then we can get their affiliation properly. This is members have to fix this issue here.
Sure, I can work on mine. So
yeah, this is you, is it?
Yeah, that's me.
Come on, Paul. Okay. So yeah, so these are the main statistics that I have pulled and important ones that I have taken. If members like you want to expect anything more or anything you want me to add, please let me know. I'm not doing it like every month because this is the nagging thing. It's for me. So once we get it fixed, then it should happen better then. Any questions, comments, anything that I've missed, anything you think we need to keep track of it regularly?
Hey, Sridhar, thanks for this. A quick note on the usefulness of the repo activity chart is almost all of our repos have renovate bot attached, which means that at least every week we're getting updates to packages. And so pretty much every repo, except I think maybe for one or two, has this configured, and they're always going to be active every month because of that.
I mean, this is the very, I mean, feedback across many projects. They want to know why are you even doing it, because most of our repos are active, but some projects want to know what are the active repos, and I mean, how many of them are active, kind of a thing. Yeah, I understand your point. Yeah.
It would be really interesting if we could get this, but filter out all of the renovate contributions.
Sorry, can you repeat that? The last point I missed it. Sorry. Filter out?
If we could get this same view, but with all of the renovate bot contributions filtered out, so that then you can see which ones are actively being contributed to by not bots.
Okay. Yeah, we need true contributions. Yeah, I'll just make a quick note. I'll give the feedback on that.
Yeah, and it'll make certain other aspects of this table look a little bit less insane.
Any other comments, suggestions? Thanks, Linda. I think that was Steve, right?
Yeah, that was Stephen talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyone else?
Okay, thank you.
Sridhar, I updated my Git profile, so it'll show up now.
No, it will take 12 hours kind of a thing, I think.
Yeah.
All right. All right, I fixed the date. I just, yeah. File and okay, why don't we do the dash? Why don't we do the dash part next? So Paul, I guess we need, do we have a volunteer? Who would like to volunteer who's working heavily with Dash already? Or moderately with Dash already? Because that would probably be the best
Right.
volunteer.
I can do it. It wouldn't be me. It would be, we have another team that works closely with Dash, and but I can coordinate with them. And we've done Dash integration, and want to bring that Dash integration into OPI. So
Right.
happy to volunteer or be part of the team or whatnot.
Okay. Anyone else?
Hey, Joe, Pensando is contributing quite a bit in Dash. We can also help if needed.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and it doesn't strictly have to be a TSC member for the liaison, just like for the working groups.
Right.
I don't know. So Vipin and Dan, do you guys want to co-lead this?
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Vipin? Because that would be fantastic, actually. I mean, ordinarily I would volunteer for such a mission, but Dell's already got, has a whole bunch of spots, and it's not the best, it's not the best thing. So because we want to spread around the responsibility and the drive and the initiative on these things. So I'm happy with Vipin and Dan. Myself, any other comments or thoughts on that? Okay. Does anybody object? You can raise your hand in the app, type in text chat message, or just come off of mute. Or does anybody think we ought to do is, start this off a different way? Okay, then it's set. We'll have Vipin Jain from AMD Pensando and Dan Daly from Intel IPU and IPDK teams do the Dash liaison jointly, and you guys can pull in anyone else you need to for, as always.
Joe, a question. What is the goal from OPI point of view? What is that we are seeking? Sorry if I missed the context from the previous ones.
Okay, so let me share the notes from the previous one, and let's go through what we had said. All right, can you guys read this?
Yeah.
Well enough. So this is the screenshot. Again, my notes didn't save because I didn't hit save for a variety of flu-related reasons. But the number one entry has the notes. And, obviously what we talked about is Dash is a subset of the API for data center and cloud gateway use cases, primarily tunnel termination, but they've spread into a few, adjacent areas. And it expresses itself as a set of containers extending Sonic. And again, we talked about how if you're going to adopt Dash, you have to adopt Sonic. What we talked about was what can we leverage from Dash from the APIs? And we need parallel components for networking because we decided that having only Sonic as a networking component of OPI was not a good idea. And Sonic is a good option to have, but again, we want to embrace multiple solutions. So we also need OVS OVN for good reasons. Then there was a discussion about using Psi as the lower level network API for Dash, and in particular for OVS OVN as well as Sonic. IPTK does this already. So next call, we're going to do a deep technical review of how IPTK does it, and basically decide if that should come into OPI proper and be used as one of our hardware is our primary network hardware abstraction layer.
Sure. I don't know if anyone did technical analysis on Dash work itself. If it is okay, we can present the Dash architecture within the OPI community, then decide what are the areas we want to double down on. And as together as a community, we can refine the charter that you have here. But I'm curious if anyone did technical presentation to what exactly Sonic does and how it, not Sonic, Dash does, and how Dash addresses the use cases.
So when I was out, Tim, you had Vipin and Dash came in and did a presentation, to my understanding. Correct, Tim?
Yeah, they presented in this meeting. I think that would have been 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right, but an additional deep dive is probably necessary to validate these things. And so what we wanted to evaluate whether the K8 interaction with the programmable pipeline acceleration and in particular the installation of programmable pipelines and their management. How, what should we take from that, or should OPI, have separate APIs into the vendor SDKs for that? Evaluate secure ZTP for Dash, and basically how to enhance the Sonic ONI and do a better job with that. And then again, we have we'll meet with them, at the SmartNIC Summit, but we can meet ahead of that. But a technical overview, an additional deep dive technical overview would be fantastic, Vipin.
Yeah, no, I think it certainly is important because there are many components of Sonic. And we should definitely, even if there are areas or multiple areas of overlap, we should identify the ones that are of the highest interest to us in the short term and long term, and get to that alignment understanding within OPI community, so we don't see ourselves surprised saying, oh, that's not what we want to chase for now, or this is the alignment we are looking for it first and then next and all that. Anyway, so I'm quite familiar with Dash, and we can collaborate to present or rather have a Q&A on Dash within the OPI community first, and present the detailed architecture and use cases it is addressing, or what is it targeting, right?
Do you want to do that next week?
I could do that, but I thought you were going to, you said we want to talk about IPDK stuff.
Yeah, because what we're going to talk about is IPDK PSI usage in the context of Dash.
Okay.
So,
okay.
So the drive for the IPDK was as something to pull into OPI, then as a overlap with Dash as well. So why don't we have those two topics, kind of Dash technical overview, and then the IPDK use of PSI as the topics for next time, and in particular with an eye towards how the PSI IPDK work is functioning with Dash.
Yeah, I think that would be great. So yeah, I'll probably, I think overall it'll need 1 hour minimum, but if you're trying to squeeze too many things, it might run too short. The thing is that,
let's get started, and then we can always, we'll just do the continuation of the next week. But let's just go ahead and get started. If it takes, as you say, if it takes the whole time, then we'll roll over additional topics or, dependent topics that come out of the discussion for the next week. This is very important to get rolling. So let's start next week. Okay,
then I'll coordinate with you offline.
Yeah, and yeah, so coordinate with me, coordinate with Dan offline, and we'll we'll just get that rolling.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, so let me switch back. Now there's a chat. Okay. All right. This is all right. All right. So anything else on Dash today? And anyone else who wants to participate, talk to Vipin and with Dan Daly as well. Okay.
Joe, do you want to put down that we need to we need an agenda item on the board meeting on Monday to ask for someone from the board to work with Gerald, I think is his name, to kind of peer with Gerald?
Yeah, it's Gerald DeGrasse, I believe. And yeah, we can do that. Okay, so
Paul, what was it? Was it a board level connection we were looking for, or was it an outreach level connection?
So when we talked about it last week, we talked about it would be good to have someone from the board just to, at a board level, to peer. We wanted someone from the outreach committee to peer with them, and a technical person. So I don't know who it'll be, Mark, from, I mean, it seems like there are 3 or 4 of us on the outreach working group that are active. It'd be great to grab someone else to tackle that task.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
it'd be great to pull someone in.
Yeah, because I see a lot of potential from an outreach perspective,
Yep.
especially with OCP coming up in the fall. All these activities that are, we can present. I think that's quite valuable.
Yeah, well,
I do too. I just simply don't know if I can take on more stuff.
Yeah, let's pick that up in the outreach meeting, Paul, and figure it out.
Okay.
And then
well,
just happy to hear that there's interest also to have somebody at the board level.
Yeah.
I think that helps out.
well, and Paul, you can appoint someone from the outreach committee to be the main Dash liaison, and it certainly doesn't have to be you. And they,
Yeah, no, I know that it seems that there's about 3, maybe 4 of us that are active in that meeting, active in that working group, and we all seem to have a lot of tasks. So
true.
I'd like to pull someone else in.
Okay, but having someone from the board also is a
Yes.
good idea. I mean, that's just a good idea by itself. Okay. All right. Anything else on Dash topic? All right. All right. Lab operations working group. So VinCat, we talked last time about creating a lab operations working group that's a separate, or making it part of the POC Dev platform group and using that group. We sort of came to the conclusion last week that it should be that a separate working group is not a terrible idea, in terms of making decisions and reporting and that sort of stuff. What are your thoughts? Because you've been heavily involved in getting the lab up to speed, from Keysight point of view. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, separate group. I think the work is same, right? Whether it is separate or so, I'm fine if that was discussed and agreed upon. So in terms of the group itself, we have, I think, a set of folks who are generally interested in this topic. And then there is a separate channel on Slack. Typically, if somebody is off, others are jumping in. So I think in terms of, who the initial set of folks to start with, we have that set. Yeah, I mean, it sounds good at a high level. And then we have the names of the folks. We already have a Slack channel. Maybe just use it to get started.
Yeah, well, we had so we hadn't closed on whether it should be a separate working group or not. And in fact, we wanted to vote today on whether it should be a separate working group or part of the POC POC. That was one of the topics we wanted to cover and vote on today. So
yeah, it's good to be part of the POC, though. I mean, if we haven't quite decided or voted on it, the reason is, right, I mean, POCs, demos and tutorials and lab, they all kind of go together. We can, if we create more, if we create separate working group, we need meetings, and then I mean, finding time slots in the morning to be, friendly to global time zones is hard. Already we consumed quite a few days. So I think using the POC group is I mean, there could be a group of folks who work offline, but we could definitely keep the discussion or presentation as part of the POC. And and also extend. I think we will slowly extend as the lab comes up and we start doing things. Demos especially and tutorials, right? These things are really external facing. A lot of folks would know about OPI, and their first interaction with OPI would be through some of these videos and some of these tutorials, hopefully, right? So it's important to include all that, and they don't quite fit in the lab group, but POC would be a good umbrella where all of that can go together.
Okay. Stephen, it's your group. What are your thoughts?
I have no problems with it being just continuing to be part of the POC group. One thing is we don't have regular meetings right now. So, if we need regular meetings for lab work, I mean, that's a net new meeting no matter what. But like I said, I don't have a problem with it being part of the POC working group. It's really just semantics at this point, I think.
Okay, that's fine. So anybody object to having the lab working group simply be a part of the POC working group? Any objection? All right, so we'll have it be that. All right, who do we, Venkat, will you continue to lead the lab working group?
Yeah, definitely. And maybe I'll ask if Mircha has any interest. At least she has been doing quite some work there. So I'll take it offline, talk to him and see if he.
Or Mircha is good as well, right? If you want to volunteer, that would work for me as well. Because as Venkat just said, I know you've been doing a lot of the work.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to volunteer Mircha at this point, so that's why, right? For now,
I'm here. I'm not quite sure what I'm signing up for. I don't mind to do the work. So
all right. So
sure, I'll volunteer, and if it doesn't work, I'll unvolunteer.
Okay. Yeah, that's the thing about volunteer organizations is you can always unvolunteer later, and we'll figure something out. All right. So, so you can take the lead on organizing, what has to be done, recruiting people to get, to do additional work, reporting out progress and activities, asking for, support / help / changes in budget required to get the lab actually up and running. All right, any objections or other discussion on lab and lab working group, or any questions? All right. All right. SmartNet Summit speakers. So we need someone for, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. I think there is a couple of things that we on the lab, right? I think there are areas where we are stuck. Maybe Mircha, you can speak up now and use this forum to maybe make some progress on the part numbers ordering and things like that.
Oh, we have. Okay, so what are our
So under POCs, there is a PR with a proposal for phase 1. I refined based on the discussion from the last 2 months. But I haven't seen, I would say, that many comments and everybody providing feedback or alternate part numbers and items. And are we going to buy that, or, can we have a discussion about it? I want to make sure everybody's okay with the proposal.
Yeah, so normally the detailed discussion and review would be in a working group meeting. If you have, we could begin to review it here. right? We could do our next topic on the SmartNIC Summit speakers and then come back to this and begin the review here, because we're likely to have 15 minutes. Well, maybe we'll have 15 minutes, depends on how long the next topic takes. But
So we could, so Joe, maybe if we could empower the lab team to decide and go ahead and buy the equipment and start moving on the lab with what we have, because waiting for every vendor, their DPU and their compatible servers and things like that will take time. Every company moves at its own speed. So either we have to make a call here, or we can empower the team to kind of make the lab team to just decide and keep moving forward. It's good to set up even a smallest of the lab and then keep making progress and keep adding incrementally when if and when we buy new things. I think getting over the first step is really important, the initial inertia, I guess.
now I agree we need something installed and running, because there's going to be 100 problems that get hit.
Yep.
To make that happen. And I'm in favor of empowering the lab team to start that work. Do you guys think we need, so for the TSC members, do we need a vote for that, or do we want to just empower the lab team to be able to execute? Any thoughts at all on that? Steven?
I'll throw something out there, and that's I think that makes sense up to some cost threshold. So I don't know if we need to vote to say this is the amount that the lab group can go and spend.
Stephen, are you thinking an individual PO amount or a total, here's what's been budgeted, don't spend more than what's on the budget?
More the latter than the former.
Yeah. That makes sense to me as well. Also, I don't know that we can order anything because we don't have a place to ship it yet, because the legal agreement has not been finalized from what I understand yet.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next point. Is yeah, we can't buy anything yet.
So Sridhar, what's the current schedule for the legal agreement to be finished?
So I have another meeting today, later the thing. So our legal LF legal might approve by this weekend or by Monday, I think. So
Okay.
my guess is maybe by end of next week we should have some kind of closure. So 15th is a good target, I think, for this thing to start complete.
Okay.
7:39 a.m.
All right, so we expect. Well, if that's the case, then we need to decide on the, I guess, the latitude of the lab working group in terms of budget and so on. So Merchant and Venkat, why don't you put together or maybe amend the PR or put together a separate PR on what the very initial purchase would look like. What would you want to buy first?
It's already done in the PR.
Oh, it's in the PR.
Already done.
So what we should do is then is all right. Can you bring that? Why don't we just do that now then? Bring that PR up, and we'll leave at least 10 minutes. So let's just spend 5 or 10 minutes and pull that PR up. And
Unfortunately, I cannot share my screen right now. If somebody can
Then-
click on it and share.
I got it.
Okay, Paul, thank you.
Just have to find which tab it is. Just a minute. So here's the PR. files themselves.
Yeah, so items, we have two servers, one from Dell, one for HP Enterprise. One second, we can stay with the table.
Okay.
So one server with AMD DSC 100 from Dell, and both they offer both DPUs, and both are about the same price, a couple of $100 plus or minus. So just for the vendor selection fairness, we choose one from Dell, one from HP. Marvel, we have the part number, but not the server. Intel, I understood they will donate. I put question marks there. So I would say, let's go ahead and purchase the AMD and the NVIDIA servers, those two. Then we need test server. We can buy one or up to as many DPUs we have. This will be the server that will generate the traffic and will hold the test and do all this stuff. Are about $10,000 each. And I just want I have a question mark there, the quantity, if we should start with 1, 2, or 4. We have a switch where it will interconnect all the 100 gig links. The proposal is with an Arista, and I provided a par number, and actually to buy it refurbished to be cheaper, because list price is about 120. I don't mind Cisco, Juniper, or any other brand name here, but if people want to make proposal, please do. What I would mind to actually go and buy a white box for $6,000 new, but which has an operating system that we either need to pay for a license, or either that is not that well supported, and then we end up with failures here, and basically we get to fight with OS. So I would prefer if it's from some companies that provides both the OS and the hardware, and it works. That's kind of with the switch. And then these are miscellaneous, like cables, a KVM server, a terminal server for serial connectivity, dongles, cables, and network control DPUs, so we can remote hold power cycle devices in case that hang, crash, or whatever happened with them.
And that the 100 gig switch is a 48 port switch
I think 32.
or 32 port switch.
32 100 gig, yes.
Yeah, which is fine. Okay, so if we had two test servers, and the test server presumably also can do the any of the life cycle CI/CD stuff as well, right? Is
Yes.
that yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so
I have one more comment, and I will put this on VP. For the blue field, I confirm that the same par number works for Dash and OPI. It's the same par number I got through both projects. DSC 100, I am not sure, Vipin, if it supports both Dash and OPI. If we are
I would go with DSC 200. Marsha, I was going to say that DSC 200 is going to. It's not about just supporting Dash versus not, but I think we'll be more future proof with that. So that would be a better choice.
right.
Okay, I took a note, and I'll replace 100 with 200.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. And then Keith.
Yeah. Thank you. I thought it just came up, right? How are we dealing with the security? So we're going to get some public static IP addresses, right? I mean, at least in my experience at home, when I set up my own like dynamic DNS with a domain name, after a few days, you'll start having people trying to SSH into your public IP address and try to crack it, right? So that's just dealing with that is a problem that needs to be addressed, right? So do people have thoughts about how to deal with that? Is it done through, for example, we're going to use KVM, and KVM is already, bulletproof, right? And that's how we can access the systems. It's a question to the team.
Right.
Any inputs?
I know that.
Ah.
So Keith, one of the things we can do is we can get a pair of F5 virtual editions to run on a hypervisor and front end everything with those.
Like a
and
DMC,
use
set up a
the profiles.
DMC of some kind. I
Yeah.
don't know, but I'm just raising it. This is a real
Yep.
problem.
Yeah,
It is
It's a real
definitely a
problem.
real problem.
You
And
go, you know, you put up a public IP address, you look at your var log access, right? You'll see people from all over the place trying to SSH into your server.
that's a good,
Try different passwords.
it's a good point. So, Marcio, Venkat, what are the current, and Stephen, what are the current thoughts around lab security? And what does Hurricane Electric provide us naturally?
I thought HE will
they're going to provide us an
take
IP.
care
I
of
think.
it by providing us an IP, and that IP being make sure, I don't know, we have either a private key or something, not necessarily a password to go through it.
Okay.
And then from that IP, we can jump on all the devices on the setup. So probably we need to clarify with HE what they provide.
Yeah, I mean, we should find out what they provide for firewall and so on in front of the IP they're going to give us, if anything. And if not, then the discussion around getting virtual edition firewall. And so what we really should take is maybe what we should do is break this down slightly differently, where we have 2 test servers and then a what I would call an infrastructure server to do things like the firewall and any CI/CD pipelines and run those, all of that kind of control plane infrastructure stuff for the lab, separate from the servers we use to run the testing.
Yep.
Yeah, I have a suggestion initially. Let's just buy 2 servers and we use one as the infrastructure and one as a test, because it can go through the switch and it can connect to either Pensando or either Bluefield. And then as we see the usage increasing and we need to parallelize and so on, we add more test servers.
Sure, exactly.
We can just go with 2 from beginning.
Sure, we could go for 2, or we could go with 3, right? We could have 2 test servers and a utility server, but we could do 1 and 1 to start. So I agree, let's do 1 and 1 to start. All right. And we need the security question answered. What else do we need answered? We got about a minute.
Total budget. So let's say 15 plus 59. No, it says 14 there. That will be 30,000. The switch 50,000 plus miscellaneous, then 60, 70, about $80,000-$90,000. It's the bill here.
Right.
Are we okay spending under 100K, close to 100K on this list? And of that will be the next question, because budget, I think it's important.
I don't know, any opinions? I mean, I think that's a very reasonable amount for a first build out. And it's within our overall budget that we've have allocated, correct, Sridhar?
Oh, we have allocated a good amount of budget. I mean, whatever its numbers here are, I mean, easily accommodated. We can accommodate easily, yeah.
Right.
Even if you double it, we are good.
Next phase. I have quotes for these items as Keysight, and I want to get these quotes as OPI. Is it okay, since now apparently I volunteer for this, to reach out as part of OPI and ask quotes for OPI, not as a Keysight employee?
Yeah, you're authorized to do that. If there are any objections from anyone, please speak up. But I think the budget amount of 90,000, we could make the initial spend budget 100,000 if there are no objections, and then empower the POC and lab working group to reach out as OPI and get formal quotes.
And the formal quotes, should I upload and share with everyone, or keep them in the private repo just for the lab purchasing group?
private repo for the lab purchasing and POC members.
Yep.
Hey,
Yeah, in general, I think quotes need to be considered private from a, the worldwide public, perspective, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
anybody who's on the TSC or could request access and get access, but yeah, I agree. Should be private from the world at large.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe while reading the code itself, we can address it to LF. It makes it easy for me for the next step.
And then OPI LF. If you need any help with reaching out as OPI Linux Foundation to get the quotes, reach out to Sridhar. He can
Yeah,
help.
please. Sure.
Yeah, I can CC him also.
All right. Anything else on lab? All right. So we have the first. So we have the first step. The equipment list looks reasonable. We'll do the 1+1. Utility and test server. And we have to, Keith's right, you have to answer the security question. And, either in concert with Hurricane Electric or directly.
Did we get any concrete answer on the PDU? Was that something that we needed to provide, or was Hurricane Electric providing them? That was a question we had outstanding.
Right, it was a question I had. I haven't heard an answer back yet. I've just been, I figured we'd wait until the legal stuff got done, and then Sridhar could provide us a kind of a technical point of contact we could ask those questions of. But I mean, even if we've got to provide it, we need to know, what's the, is it an L630? What's the input that we need to plug it into? So we know it's a single 30 amp circuit 208, but what's the plug, the receptacle, so we can order the right PDU.
All right, we can work out that offline. All right, any other topic?
I think the only other topic on the agenda was SmartNIC Summit.
Yeah,
and
let's go back to that.
So he's authorized to travel there.
All right. So what do we still not have covered? Life cycle and provisioning and API working groups?
Yes.
Yeah, let me just ask it. What do we not have covered?
Let me go to the document and take a look. So right now we've got VinCat talking about use cases. We have a presentation on lifecycle and provisioning that we need to have covered. APIs for networking and storage we need to have covered. And Murcha said he would talk about proof of concept projects. And then we have a future session that looks like it's going to be Deb Chatterjee and maybe John Kim. And we were possibly thinking a Marvell speaker for that too.
Okay. All right. So
it was coming down to we had wanted Boris to be the lifecycle and provisioning speaker if possible, pending travel, and Mark to be the API speaker, pending travel.
Right.
And if not, we need to find others to fill those 2 slots.
That's right. And neither Mark nor Boris replied to you, correct?
No, they said they were waiting to figure out if their travel had been approved. When I talked to them, I think 2 weeks ago at the TSC meeting,
yeah,
that was the answer.
Right. All right. All right. Well, we won't be able to resolve that here, but if they can't travel, we're going to need additional volunteers. So think if you want to be an additional volunteer or an instead volunteer for either of those, especially if you're local to the Bay Area and you're not me.
Because you are the moderator.
Yeah, I was going to do the overall moderator, but you know, it would be nice to have people who are really active in those working groups
Yes.
do the presentation. So
Joe, you can count me in. I'm locally here in San Jose.
yeah, I knew you were, and I was about to say, Vipin, you know, you could volunteer if you wanted.
Definitely.
Which of those two would you like to, lifecycle and provisioning or API?
I think API would be a better choice for me.
Okay.
This is Dongwei. I am new to this, but I think I could potentially volunteer for the life cycle one. I have a person reporting to me working on that. We can consolidate and help.
Yeah, that would be great.
I'm local.
Okay.
All right, so let me. I just sent a note internally. Let's see if we can get that resolved.
And even if Boris and Mark could do that, it would be great to have multiple vendors represented as well.
That's right.
So Dong and Vipin, could I get bios and headshots from you to send to the SmartNIC Summit folks?
Sure. I think
Yeah, Dong, I think you sent it to me for
yeah.
the TSC
Yeah.
membership. So I have that. I have yours.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll share with you. Let me know over email or on Slack, whatever works.
Slack is perfect.
Okay, I'll share it with you on Slack.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's also a meeting on Friday to discuss the content, right?
There is a meeting on Friday to discuss the content in a, not for these sessions, but as a kind of our general overall template with diagrams and pictures and arrows and circles that you can pull from for these sessions. It wouldn't be enough to do a full session for, say, the API group. It wouldn't go into that. What we're working on is more of a general overview.
Okay.
And then we would need detailed slides and stuff talking about, what are we doing with networking APIs, and maybe a view into those. And I don't know, maybe a demo of what those are. A demo of one of those real quick. So we can talk more about it if you're going to join on Friday.
Yeah, I'll join.
Yeah, it might be worth noting as well, Paul, right, that this deck is going to be scrubbed by the Linux Foundation outbound team to align with our theme for OPI. So that'll give us a good framework. And for the members that are going to speak at SmartNIC Summit, unless you get a template from SmartNIC Summit, this could be a great template to kind of bring alignment between all of these presentations we're going to deliver.
Yes, correct.
But I don't think that'll be ready by Friday, right? We're probably a couple of weeks out before that's done by
the LF team, by the LF creative team. That's correct.
Yeah, which is fine.
Okay, good.
All right, so that's the end of the agenda. Thank you, everyone. We're out of time. I actually saved the notes this time, so thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you.